Before we start the episode today, we'd like to take a moment to remember the unfortunate passings we've had in the past few weeks. Thank you, Larry Sonka, Shad Gaspard, and Hana Kimura for all your contributions in and out of the ring, and thank you all for being inspiring heroes. Rest in peace.
Hello, everybody. We are here with Main Stage Wrestling, n- not live for like one of the first times. This is our first ever summer edition of Main Stage Wrestling, and I am here. I am Jacy Cola, and I am joined by my two very good friends, Tiger
Hello?
and Sam Gelfand.
Here as always, nice to be back.
For sure. And so, yeah, it's a bit strange, guys. We're doing this right here online. This is the first time we've ever done main stage, just not in person.
Yeah, it's a weird vibe for sure. At least it's a different vibe. But then again, no one's doing anything in person right now. No one's doing anything live. I shouldn't have to explain exactly why. So you know what? We're we try to be trendsetters, but occasionally you've got to follow the wave.
We're all professionals here, right? We've been professionals since we were children. I mean, all children are professionals. So,
That's correct.
yeah.
And we're looking to carry that childhood tradition
Mhm.
into our adult lives. And so that is the exact reason we all got together. And that was our actual
Exactly.
reason for joining here today for main stage wrestling. So guys, it is the middle of the summer. It is in the midst of, or I guess like maybe on the tail end, hopefully, of a global pandemic. And I just got to know because it's been a while. What's been going on in your two lives?
Sam?
I was gonna say, we can't look at each other. We don't know who's cueing who.
This is true. This is true. I'll say
We're
names from
gonna,
now on. I'll
we'll,
choose a
we'll,
yeah,
person to
we'll
go to.
loudly say each other's names out, and when we don't want to reply, we'll just keep saying each other's name until somebody complies.
That's right. That's right. No more awkward silences. They're not allowed.
well,
So
yes,
Sam, you specifically, how has your life been since the world has crumbled?
uh, surprisingly not too bad. Um, I think it was yesterday, although honestly, my days are getting so confused these days, as I think all of ours are. There is no schedule anymore. I think yesterday I left my apartment for the first time in over a month. I've
Jesus.
uh, I've been quarantining pretty hard. I'm technically at risk for this whole thing, so I'm trying to take it pretty seriously. But I took a walk yesterday. It was really nice.
Hey, and you're still up in Syracuse, right?
I am still in Syracuse. Yeah, gonna spend the summer here. Gonna be here for the fall and just stay through the whole next year, assuming that the fall is, well, they say it's going to be half online, half in person. We'll see which one we choose to do.
Yeah, I have no clue yet. Everything's still so weird and up in the air about fall semester,
Yeah.
but
I
yeah,
figure that it's probably safer to be here in Syracuse than it is back home in Florida for many reasons.
fair, fair. There are a lot of old people in Florida, you know?
You look at their virus response, and it makes sense that I would want to stay here.
This is true, but I'm in Texas, so I don't know to
They're
what
about on
extent
the
I can.
same they're about
Yeah,
on the same
yeah.
plane.
Yeah, I would think so. I would think so. But Tiger, how have things been from you? It's been a while since I spoke with you as well.
Well, I'm glad you asked, because
Oh,
life,
I'm glad I'm asked.
well, life has been all right here in New York City. It's where
Jesus.
where I am right now, right in the center of a lot of things happening. But I'm with family, so I think pretty happy. So I think I'll get through it by watching more Ilya Dragunov matches that are not his NXT UK matches. So
Of course. But guys, not only have our lives continued since all of this has been going on, but so too has just the world of pro wrestling in general. It's decided to keep on chugging along with us, which I mean, I can't say it's for the best, but like at least they're putting out content. I don't know how you two really feel about this. It's been a topic of contention for a while now, and I really don't know like how to gauge either of you two.
I feel like wrestling has proven time and time again that like almost nothing would stop it, and sometimes I think there are times that were I would be fine without some wrestling. I think this is one of the times, but obviously they went through the official work and officially they're clear to record or film whatever they want. So I can't really say too much about that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I am, I guess you could say, appreciative but wary. Because I've been following what's going on with all of the other major sports leagues and trying to start up. Wrestling is the only sport that is currently happening in the United States. And
Get some
while it's great that
UFC.
there is, well, yeah, there is that, although, of course, they've had fighters had to drop out due to COVID-19.
This is very
So
true.
while I'm appreciative that wrestling is giving me new content every week, and that is really nice because I think without any sort of weekly sports, I might be going insane right now. At the very, that is nice, but at the same time, you have to wonder about the safety. I do appreciate that they're doing testing and that no one has come ill yet, at least that we know of. But uh, other than that, I feel like I can't really have an opinion because it's already happening, and I can't say it should or it shouldn't because it just is.
I gotcha. So from this point forward, Sam, you are establishing so long as something has happened, you are not allowed to have an opinion on it. Correct?
I would not say so.
Oh, okay. My bad. I misinterpreted.
No,
But
no, I'm just saying I can't say there should be or there shouldn't be because it already is, and I'm
absolutely.
powerless to stop that.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, I mean, my whole 2 cents on the matter is that it sort of sucked for the longest time, and that was my main complaint. Like you said, they're gonna do it, and they are doing it, so it's whatever. But if you're gonna do it, at least do it well, which for the
Oh yeah.
longest time they just hadn't, and that goes across the board. That goes NXT, Raw, SmackDown, even AEW. Just it was not the greatest or most entertaining product in the world. Like I'm a person, guys, who has been watching every
You
single
are a
episode.
person.
Yes, that's also true. These statements taken down into the smallest portions are all still true. But I've been watching these shows for the longest time, right? And like I haven't missed an episode of Raw since 2009. Same with SmackDown, all this stuff. But I really like can't be bothered to. I'm still watching it, but I have no desire to. Like all the shows on a weekly basis, and that's just
It's
it's a strange feeling.
it's so unique in pro wrestling that the crowd can really make or break a match. It's not like that in any other sport. I mean, we already learned this lesson through 205 Live, where if there was a halfway decent crowd, 205 Live would be putting on 4+ star matches week in and week out, but without it there, it just sucks the energy out. And then, of course, when you're not allowed to have a crowd, the effect is amplified. I think that it's caused them to get really creative and do some great stuff. Like, of course, half the stuff at WrestleMania has to be mentioned, but at the same time, it means that unless you're doing what AEW and now apparently WWE are doing with having the rest of their talent at ringside, at least providing some noise and what's the word? Passion, excitement. Those are the words I'm looking for. Then
I
it
see.
really no matter what you're gonna do, it just kind of falls flat.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's very, very true. I think AEW though, out of all the shows, is probably handling it the best. Like
Oh yeah.
with how they're doing their crowds, it gets me at least somewhat more engaged than the other shows, and they've been doing it for a while now. They only had a couple shows, I think, with no crowd whatsoever, and so I think just the way they've been handling the situation has made it the most digestible. And like you mentioned, WWE started doing it with their PC trainees, but like even that, they're like all standing apart, like 6 feet apart, just awkwardly cheering. And I think I'm more, maybe because it's only been the first week, but I feel like I'm more distracted than anything else by it, you know?
Yeah, it's like they're telling people, it's like, what's the thing that's going around on the internet right now? Why aren't you having a good time? I specifically requested it. But the other great part, or why I enjoy AEW's version more, is because by not having nameless faces out there, you also get opportunities for character development. They're invested and also telling a story at the same time. Just these little things going on almost behind the scenes, literally on the sidelines, and I think it's great.
I don't know if you saw it, but this past week during the Battle Royal to determine the number one contender to Cody's title, right? Billy Gunn got put into this match as like the last entrant, and it was like the most amazing thing because he just hops the barricade, right? And he's in the match for like 20 minutes, and when he gets eliminated, he just goes right back next to his son and cheers for the rest of the show. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Billy Gunn, what a man.
He's a man,
You
such a
know?
man. Yeah.
He is a man. He's a man. So, guys, not only I mean, crowds are weird right now in wrestling. Everything's weird right now in wrestling. But I will say, I think the one thing that has maybe shifted my whole attitude towards this, like my whole sort of pessimism towards everything right now, was Double or Nothing, which took place just last weekend.
Yeah, it was such a spectacle to observe, isn't it?
Dude, it was the best spectacle to observe. Like, do we want to run down the entire card from last Saturday, or what are we thinking?
We can do that. We can hit the highlights.
Let's hit the highlights. I think the highlights are probably the best way to go because the main show started out with our whole casino ladder match for that AEW championship opportunity, you know? And it was pretty packed and insane. And for a ladder match conducted in front of like barely any people, it felt still exciting. Like it maintained my interest and excitement all throughout it. So I don't know if you guys got the chance to check out the match. Did you?
Yeah.
I got to see bits and pieces.
Okay. Well, Tiger.
You'll notice that's a theme as we continue to talk about this
Yeah.
pay-per-view. I got to see bits
dude.
and pieces.
Like normally, I'll poke fun at you guys for not watching like the whole shows, but there's no way I can blame you for doing that right now. You know,
Mhm.
like if you guys are just watching highlights, I envy you. I really truly do. But this casino ladder match was just ridiculous. Tiger.
Well, Taz hates Darby Allin for some reason.
Oh my God, Dobby! They hate Dobby. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So Taz did come out with the final entrant in that casino not battle royal, in the casino ladder match,
And won the
was-
match. Taz is now the number one contender to the
Yes, he
ECW
is.
championship. Yes.
So Taz reveals he is, I guess, the advocate for the debuting Brian Cage. And I don't know how you two feel about Brian, but like, I love this dude because I love Lucha Underground. He was a champion in a local promotion here called Wrestle Circus. Like, I think he's ridiculously talented. I think
He
he's
is
one
a
of the best
machine.
big boys. He's a machine. That's absolutely right. And
That's
I
a
love that
selling
he's-
point.
I like that he's getting to maintain that machine persona even now in AEW. I think that's really cool.
I do miss the intro to his song though, with the "I'm a
Yeah.
machine."
I don't mind Taz just saying whatever the hell he's saying too, though. You know, it works.
That's the thing I'm worried about because they didn't give him an opportunity to say anything. They didn't even give him an opportunity to say, "Hey, I'm a machine" or anything. The only thing that he said was he mouthed to the camera. He said, "Who's better than Cage? No one." So I think he's gonna go back to the "Who better than Cage" gimmick, which was obviously adopted from his mentor Al Snow, right? Or something.
I
Al Snow.
honestly,
Never mind. Kane.
I know who you're talking about. It was a WCW guy, right?
Yes, Kane.
Starts with like a K, something like that. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. But basically, also, did you see his mouth? The dude's mouth was blue for the match.
Huh.
He-
Although
like,
now that I'm a bit out of order,
Sponsored
but
by
now that
Blue
I-
Chew.
It's a bit out of order, but now that I think about it, Cage's song would also work if it started with the same thing that Taz's song started with, "Survive If I Let You."
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. This past week on AEW, that was part of their little promo because Taz came out and he cut a promo on behalf of Cage, and that was what he ended it with.
I do like that AEW is doing that now, letting the managers go out and cut promos on the wrestlers' behalf. They don't even have to be there. Like the lead up to the TV title match between Cody and Lance Archer, they just put Arn Anderson and Jake Roberts out there, and they had a brilliant war of the words.
Well, I do refuse to say anything kind about Arn Anderson at this point in his career because I think he's destroyed Cody's momentum. I do agree, and like I think it's just a testament to even like what Paul Heyman's been doing for the past few years, and that it does make the person you're representing feel like a bigger deal, like because he's still
Oh
going to
yeah.
be in the mind of the fans. He's still going to be technically part of the show, but he's sort of too big to be there on a weekly basis, and I think that's pretty sick.
So did you
I
guys
think
not
what
think it's gonna be a little bit more like abundant, like too much monster heels with former wrestlers as managers, like Lance Archer and now Cage?
I don't think that it's gonna get overdone at least too much. I mean, we've got 3 right now, right? That ain't bad. And I think what they're doing, which is better than, say, the managers we saw in old school WWF, is that you don't have one guy managing multiple people. It's one on one. And it makes the wrestlers themselves feel like a bigger deal.
For sure. Like I do think though, like if they bring in another duo like this, like let's say Wardlow splits up with MJF and like Lex Luger comes in to manage him, like then
I'd
maybe
be
you would have gone a bit too far.
I'll be a huge mark for that. I'm telling you right
I
now.
mean,
I take back anything I said about managers if Lex Luger comes in on AEW, dude.
Honestly,
manage
watching
Wardlow.
OSW review has made me turn the page on Lex Luger. I really like him now.
If Lex Luger
Fantastic.
doesn't win at least the TNT championship, I would be devastated.
As you should, as you should. But there
What
is
would
a
I
chance.
do? I don't know.
Do you even pay me enough?
So, back to the casino ladder match. Brian Cage, upon his debut in AEW, goes ahead. He climbs up that ladder and he wins the opportunity to fight Jon Moxley at the upcoming Fighter Fest. Which I'm honestly surprised that they're keeping that pay-per-view gimmick going. You know,
Yeah, seriously.
I
That's
don't, I don't
I thought that was going to be a one and done. I don't know how much shelf life that oh so topical reference has.
like it was great last year. Like it was perfect. But like,
Yeah.
well, I mean, maybe they'll do something cool with it. I do love that it was supposed to be their first show in the UK. That would have been so cool had it actually been able to go through.
I'd prefer if they changed out Fighter Fest for doing something with CEO again, the fighting game championships, because I
Oh
thought that
yeah,
was really fun.
Yeah, but
for
CEO
sure.
and any like even Evo is offline. It's not offline, but online this time around. So like even the fighting game tournaments are like you have to stay at home and play online. So
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're not going to get to do it this year. No one gets to do anything this year except suffer.
Yes, yes, and that is what we did actually later on the Double or Nothing card when we watched Dustin Rhodes fight Sean Spears.
and I did
It,
not watch this.
yeah, good on you for not watching it, Sam. I hope you joined Tiger in not watching it because it was
Good.
rough.
It allows me to continue my fandom for Dustin Rhodes.
I,
Yeah,
I,
I
My
don't.
image is unspoiled.
I think if Dustin isn't fighting his brother, we just shouldn't have him wrestle. You know,
he can be in tag
that
matches.
with his brother. Yes,
Yes,
as long
yes,
as he's
yeah.
tagging with Cody.
Yeah.
But anything aside from that has not been good. His match with Hager at the first AEW pay-per-view since they went to TV, it wasn't the great. Like it was by far the lowest match on the entire show in my opinion.
Well,
And now,
you're forgetting that he's got a very different style from everyone else in AEW right now. You know, everyone else there, it's mostly an American indie style. Dustin Rhodes is coming out of old school WWF. It's gonna be a slower, more story-based style. It's not gonna necessarily mesh well with everyone, especially in short, 10
um,
minutes or less matches.
Sam, in this match I'm referencing with Dustin Rhodes and Sean Spears, my problems weren't so much with Dustin Rhodes' fighting style. It was more the fact that he pulled down Sean Spears' tights and revealed his underwear with a ironed on image of Tully Blanchard upon his
Oh, I
crotch.
saw that. I saw
Okay,
that.
yeah, yeah, that was more where my issue fell, at least this time.
Yeah,
So,
that
but
was
right.
that was can't miss.
By old school
Yeah,
fighting style, Sam, do you mean that like kissing women who don't want to kiss with him?
that's true.
which
Tooing.
they repeated that spot with Blue Pants and Marco Stunt this week on Dark. Marco Stunt kissed Blue Pants, who did not wish to kiss Marco Stunt.
That's horrible. That's so very horrible.
That's
How dare they?
You'd think
How dare
AEW would
they?
be above that.
Well, you know what they're not above? That's put it on more like way better matches than Dustin Rhodes and Sean Spears, like MJF versus Jungle Boy, which aside from the Stadium Stampede, which I'm sure we're gonna get to in just a tiny bit, it was by far the best match on the show. Like it was so much better than I ever expected.
It was a very actual like scientific or like I don't know, psychology, in ring psychology match, I guess.
It,
Psychological.
Psychological,
it
yes.
was just
It's a thriller.
very easy to watch, like for the whole way through. Like it was an almost 20-minute match, and it's still like just it flew by, and I was interested the whole time. Like
Mhm.
my sister was there, like watching it with me. She doesn't care about wrestling, right? She couldn't care less. But like even her watching it, it was just like she was into it, which I thought was pretty huge.
Yeah, it's a big win.
It's like a lot of
Yeah.
little things they do with each other. Like MJF, like okay, Jungle Boy would chop MJF, and MJF would push Jungle Boy away and then sell. Like that's the like
Yeah,
animosity
yeah,
and stuff like that going on there, like the little things, and it's great.
for
Those
sure.
two
For
are
sure.
going to be stars.
Dude,
Don't know
it's
how long it's
ridiculous.
gonna take. Could be 5 years, might be 10 for the main card for the main card to open up, but those guys are going to be world champion.
They're already in their like they're just in their early 20s. It's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. But again,
And
it's all
and as
potential
we
and
all
all
know,
upside.
as we all know, wrestlers don't reach their peak until their mid to late 30s.
Yes. Yeah, look at AJ Styles or even you know who's way older than they ever thought is Lance Archer. He's like already I
Yeah,
think 39 or maybe he's in his 40s, I don't know, but
I
so much
think he's
older than I
40.
thought. Yeah, it's but again, it was only last year when he started up the G1 where he hit his stride and now he's the biggest he's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, he started in TNA in 2005 in like his early 20s, so it would make sense.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
amazing to think how long he's been around and the fact that he's now finally getting recognition.
It's well, I mean, down here in Texas, guys, you guys, I will hold this against the two of you for the rest of our lives because you made fun of me so much for the first year that I
I
went
did.
to Syracuse about my affection for Lance Archer. Okay,
I
for
did.
my a total affinity with his entire persona and moves and everything, all of Lance Archer. And
The,
now you two have to eat your words and watch him team up with Jake Roberts to beat Cody or lose to Cody. But still.
Unfortunately, this match was probably not the best showcase of his abilities.
No, no,
Yeah,
the match
maybe
was
not. No.
a
I can
little.
admit that I'm wrong, though, and I can admit that I now really like Lance Archer.
I appreciate that.
And
I
Everybody
appreciate
Dies is a great catchphase.
this is true.
Everybody dies.
I feel like
That's
his
very,
music
very
doesn't
good.
fit that well, though.
Yeah, that theme song a little bit ridiculous.
It's
Yeah.
like the first part's all right, but then you get like you get soaring clean vocals in there. It doesn't really fit with Lance Archer.
Yeah, it should have just been like I'm a machine thing. So like he's like everybody dies, and then the music starts, right?
I think they should just take your version of it, Tiger, and put that into his entrance.
Oh, just
You know?
the
Yeah.
the crowd singing "Everybody Dies" like it's Judas.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, what is not beautiful is the championship that Cody won by getting the victory in that match. The incompleted AEW TNT championship was awarded to him. And yeah, I understand why it wasn't completed. I guess production and all that sort of stuff stopped upon COVID and everything, and they just sort of had to deal with what they had. So it's fine, and I'm sure it'll look better eventually. But when you make such a big deal out of the first ever match, you're getting your inaugural champion, and you bring in Mike Tyson to present it, and then it's incomplete and like half painted and silver. It's not the greatest look, you
It
know?
looks like the old Raw tag team title.
Thank you. You beat me to it.
It's
There's
just
It's not the
bad.
greatest
That's
looking
what it
belt
is.
either. I mean, even if you finished
No.
it, it's kind of old school. It's kind of generic. It doesn't really. An old school looking belt doesn't really fit with the whole AEW vibe.
Yeah, but I guess if that's sort of a niche they're trying to carve into their brand, you know, like sort of create like you know how WWE they have their Intercontinental title and that's their workhorse title, right? Like if you have that, that means the company trusts you to like go out there and do like really made amazing stuff on a consistent basis, right? Or at least that's
Yeah.
what tradition would dictate. So like maybe
Theoretically.
this title would be more like, here are our people who sort of fit this sort of style and can go out and give like just solid matches, you know? That's no defense for its design, but still.
Why isn't Darby Allin in the final against Lance Archer, which would have, I think, made a better match?
Dude,
Like,
I
I'm
would
not
have
saying
kicked
Cody
ass.
is bad. Like, I feel like Darby versus Lance would be something that I like would be great for the finals of this tournament.
Yeah. I would like to amend the statement you made there, Tiger. Cody, you're right, he's not bad, but post tattoo Cody is very bad.
Oh,
Oh,
I
yeah.
forgot to mention the stipulation of this match, of course, is that now Cody has to get the graveyard on his lower back because Lance
That's
Archer won.
true. That's true. Does he have to get a tramp stamp first to cover it up with, or no?
Yes, yes, he's got
Yeah,
to go through
yeah.
the whole process.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
So
cool.
for like a
Cool.
couple weeks, he has to come out with the original, and then the next couple weeks, like the graveyard is complete.
I see. I see. It's gradual again. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
I think it's a beautiful story to tell over the course of the next year,
yeah. And then Cody has
Yeah,
to live it
it's like,
down.
for
but
sure. So,
honestly,
yeah,
I just don't know how I feel about Cody being the inaugural champion. I was really hoping that Lance Archer would win, partially because I think it really establishes him and the whole build-up they're doing for him better. You know, a better way to. You've had him squash people for 2 months or whatever. You might as well have
yeah.
him win the championship on his first try. But also, you know, the beauty of the face champion is in the chase, and we really didn't get that much of a chase from Cody. I felt.
Like, you're absolutely right, and I think the smart decision would have been to have Lance win. But I also get the idea that Cody almost adds more prestige than Lance, who only debuted like a month or so ago. You know, like Cody's name holds a lot more value right now, and also like in 20 years from now, if you look back and let's say this title does make it that long, and you're like, oh, look at the lineage of this title. The first champion was Cody. Like that's a pretty big deal.
Mhm.
That assumes that you're also planning on Cody becoming world champion once or twice, although I am sure they are.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think again, like this title was designed for Cody, and so to change it on the fly because Lance Archer had a ton of momentum, like while that probably would have been the best decision short term, like when you put all this planning into it, you have the stipulation that Cody can't challenge for the world title. You have all this stuff going into it being a big moment for Cody to win this championship. It I don't know if they'd feel comfortable changing it all so last minute. Because
Mhm.
I mean, I have no knowledge, obviously, into the actual decision making process, but I just imagine that the plan for the longest time was this is Cody's title.
Yeah, the only takeaway I have from this, like the only thing that actually progressed, is perhaps we're getting closer to a Arn Anderson heel turn. Because there was a weird part in which Arn tried to interfere and Mike
Yeah,
Tyson
Yeah.
chased Arn off. And even though Mike Tyson's actually, I don't know if he's in the corner of Cody or not, but maybe he's supposed to be like a impartial enforcer type of deal. But he chased Arn off, and Arn, I think, cost Cody at one point, right? Like not the match, but like Cody got like Lance got the advantage after Arn
yeah,
interfered,
I mean, I
right?
yeah.
hate
I
to
don't
say it,
know.
but the word that comes to mind of all the recent Cody matches, honestly, pretty much every Cody match over the past year or so has been overbooked. There's so much
Uh,
stuff going on.
you're right, but I think you said over the past year, but I will say that that first match that he had with Chris Jericho for the title, where the stipulation was he couldn't challenge anymore if he lost. While it did have a ton of shenanigans, I think that was like they did it perfectly. Like that was the best possible way to have a match with so much interference.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that he's not able to do it well. I mean, I'm thinking back to fighting his brother and the fact that there was so much going on there, even not necessarily. Well, there was some interference, wasn't there?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
I
Brandy
have
hit a
no.
spear
Yeah,
on
yeah, there was
Dustin.
Oh,
Brandy. But like even that, there was still a lot going on, even though it was a phenomenal match. There's just every Cody match. There's so much. There's so many cooks in the kitchen that it's inevitable. Like over the last couple matches, you know, it's gonna spoil the broth.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's a fair assessment.
Hmm.
But let's move on to another championship match that went down at Double or Nothing, and that was for the AEW Women's World Championship, where Hikaru Shida defeated Nyla Rose.
Hikaru Shida in her new Tifa Lockhart costume, from of course a reference to Final Fantasy VII, as I'm sure
Oh,
both of you guys all already
of
knew.
course.
Yeah.
Yes, that was
Of
ingrained in
course
my
I knew
mind.
that.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean it's no wonder she chose Tifa because if she chose Aerith, then she would have lost.
She had a skirt, you know?
No,
Saw that.
I don't even play Final Fantasy. No one else gets the reference. No.
Yeah, I
No,
no, I
no
got
clue.
it, but I'm pretty sure I'm morally obliged to not respond to that. So
I see. I see. Well, Hikaru Shida is our brand new champion. She beat Nyla Rose in a no disqualification match. It was a pretty sick match. I enjoyed it. Like
hmm
as far as women's matches in AEW go, there haven't been this incredible number of amazing matches, and I think this sort of ranks near the top.
I enjoyed it except for the finish in which Hikaru Shida won. Like I like Hikaru Shida, but I just think they've lost like momentum again in this division.
No, I don't think so, man. I
Really?
think Shida. Well, are you upset that Shida won the way she did, or are you upset that she won in general?
Well, it was the knee strike. I don't know. It didn't look like okay. It's her finish. It has always been her finish. I
Mm-hmm.
don't particularly like it, uh, but also just I think she could have at least had one defense, right? Nyla could have she could have at
Okay.
least had one defense before losing. Because right now you're like
Yeah.
losing prestige. Because like, oh, I don't know how many defenses. Who's the champion
Riho.
before that? Yeah, I don't know how many defenses Riho had, but it didn't feel like a lot. It felt like
She had a
Yeah.
couple, I think. But
She
it's
just never
also
showed up.
they're gonna have less defenses when they're only running 4 pay-per-views a year. It makes more sense when you're thinking about it in like a WWE context because they're running a pay-per-view every month, and you're normally saving your defenses for the pay-per-view.
Yeah. I also think that Nyla did defend it against Chris Statlander at one point, didn't she?
Yeah, I
yes,
think she
yes,
did have a couple defenses.
Okay.
yes,
Okay.
yes,
Well, I,
yes.
I think
Never mind.
I
Yeah,
think
go on.
Nyla, like, she's a beast, like, right? She's like huge. She has a look that no one else does, especially now that Awesome Kong is gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think she doesn't need a title to make
Wait,
her.
is
I
Awesome
think
Khan officially gone?
Yeah.
she's injured, I'm pretty sure. And even
Aw.
before she was injured, I think she couldn't really wrestle to the level that she used to be able to. That's why the Nightmare Collective disbanded. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
it's
that
it's
like
too bad because you've got Awesome Kong and Asia Kong in the same place right now, and
I
if
know.
But
if the
AJ
two
Khan,
of them were in their primes, that would be just the greatest women's division of all time.
AJ Khan also. I was thinking about her the other day. She has not shown up since
like a
All
year ago.
In. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Didn't
don't
she
I don't
show
know
up
what's going on there.
once
I have no clue.
after
I
that?
do know though that I'm a bit I differ in opinion with you, Tiger, about the result of the match because
Okay.
I think AEW has failed to really get a lot of momentum and sustained momentum behind a female wrestler, especially a good guy like
Mm-hmm.
Sheeta. They
Mm-hmm.
tried with Riho, it didn't work. They tried with Statlander, it fizzled out. Britt Baker is like getting there, but she's not a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
Sheeta has been like on a consistent, like she's been on a winning streak. People are behind her. Like so many people are behind her. And so I think this is their first real star that they can sort of capitalize on. And I'm glad that they did because if she didn't win the title, then what? We're back to having no big babyface women.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, I mean, Hikaru Shida she's got the skill, she's got the look, she can be the next big deal. This could be the start of something, but honestly, I don't see hot potatoing the title as much of a bad thing as others might, because I think that when you're constantly trading a title back and forth between people, it just shows how competitive a division can be.
Yeah.
unless
Yeah.
it's the WWE Tag Division, then
Yeah.
It just depends on what year we're in. Depending on the sway of the wind, it's just the title
Well,
might
as
be dropped.
counterpoint, WWE Tag Team Division around 2001, when you had the Dudley Boys and the Hardy Boys and Edge and Christian, and they traded the title back and forth like every 3 weeks, but that's just because all three of them were so good.
Yeah. 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 I mean, maybe that's what'll happen with the TNT championship since it will be defended on a weekly basis. Who knows? I have no clue. But I do know that the
Neither.
AEW World Championship was defended in what was billed as the main event of the show, but was very clearly not the main event, as Jon Moxley defended his title, defeating Mr. Brody Lee by submission. And did you guys get a chance to check out this match or no?
Yeah.
Saw
Okay.
bits and
So
pieces. I really want to see the whole thing.
yeah,
It's right up my alley.
honestly, I don't. It was better than I expected because
Hmm.
Brody has honestly just fallen flat for me since his debut, which I hate because I love Luke Harper. He had one of my favorite matches ever when he fought Randy Orton at like Elimination Chamber.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's so weird. Like that match, no one talked about it when it happened, but it was so good, and I didn't get why. But so I love Luke
How
Harper.
about
Very
Brody Lee
biased.
versus Claudio Castagnoli back in Chikara? I think it was a cage match. Apparently, those guys tore it down.
It sounds sick, but like, I just as much as I was excited about him leaving WWE and about him getting to go and do his own thing, I just feel like it hasn't lived up to anywhere near the expectations. And this match was, I think, the closest he's come yet to delivering on the level that we expected him to.
Hmm. And JC, I'm sure you watched Jon
Okay.
Moxley versus Minoru Suzuki, right?
Oh yes, I think so.
And I
Right?
felt
Did
like
Yeah, I did check it out. I did.
these two matches felt pretty similar, didn't it?
I guess so. You mentioned that, but I remember the Suzuki. Maybe it was just because there was a live crowd for Moxley and Suzuki
Uh,
that it felt a lot more intense and it felt a lot more exciting. But when there's like a brawl going on around the ring and there
Mhm.
are 5 people
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
it it
Yeah.
doesn't have the same effect. I didn't make that correlation, but now that you mention it, I do see it.
I think the
There's
style
also
was
there's
more.
a difference. There's a difference between Brody Lee and Lord of Violence Minoru Suzuki.
This is true.
Not-
This is very true.
But,
I mean, I love Brody Lee. I'm just saying he is not. No one else is Minoru Suzuki. It's a very
No.
different vibe.
I think effectively, they're trying to build him up to be someone who has like a similar mystique of Minoru Suzuki. If Minoru Suzuki comes in tomorrow, he's the let's say Brody Lee never debuted, and Minoru Suzuki is the leader of the Dark Order. Everybody
hell?
would love this, right?
It's Suzuki doing a Vince McMahon impression.
No. Suzuki doesn't say anything. He just like throws the bowl of food onto whoever John Silver's face and power drivers him on the table because he ate before him, and that was it.
It's beautiful. That's beautiful. He just beats up his boys.
Senseless violence.
So I think like maybe if Evil Uno and Stu Grayson were around, it would make a bit more sense because Dark Order has I don't know really what the Dark Order is. For a while, it felt like it's a group of bad guys who are taking over, and then it felt like they're a group who help and take advantage of people that are feeling down in life and have nowhere to go, and then it turned into we have a leader. Just you wait till you see our leader, and now the
Mhm.
leader's here, and it's like okay, I'm gonna yell at my people.
The-
It doesn't. I don't think there's any continuity there.
Well, it's like it doesn't. It would definitely help if Evil Uno and Stu Grayson were here because Evil Uno really needs to be he needs to be playing the role of. Have you guys played Mortal Kombat?
Yeah.
He's the Shang Tsung to Brody Lee's Shao Kahn.
Yeah.
Like he's the spokesman to he's like the secondary bad guy, the spokesman to the big bad guy. And I think that Brody Lee, his current character, would be working better if he's got like this hear ye guy.
He doesn't have a second in command right now.
Hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
He needs the
I think-
second in command.
He's building up
Yeah.
like number 10 to be sort of his like second-hand person.
I think that's more his like meat shield, isn't it?
But-
Yeah, I think so.
And then the final match on the whole entire show on Double or Nothing 2020, and what I think we can call the actual main event of the show, despite its billing. The Inner Circle took on the Elite plus I guess Matt Hardy, in what was honestly, guys, and I know it's so easy to exaggerate and it's so easy to just blow up things, especially with how recent all this still is. But this match might have been the most fun professional wrestling match I have ever watched.
Let me tell you, professional wrestling is the ultimate form of entertainment. I mean, there was literally everything in this match. Literally everything. It reminded me of the Tokyo Dome match in DDT with Minoru Suzuki, except taken to even a higher level than that. I mean, I don't want to talk about everything that was in there because we're about to, but, like, it was a self-contained variety show within a match. It was just peak entertainment. It was wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been so easily bad,
Yeah.
so easy. Like, it could have been filmed just without the highest quality or the level of care that they put into it. But you could tell so much effort went into planning it, into filming it, into putting it all together. And when it did, like you mentioned before with the Cody matches, how there's so much going on that it sort of makes everything a mess.
Yeah.
So much going on, but it culminated just perfectly. It all just fit together so nicely in the most absurd and amazing way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm trying to think back of how it started, but it's all just
Jericho
was.
and his
It
posse
was.
came in through a smoke screen, and they were all wearing the inner circle. They were all wearing football jerseys.
Yes,
They all
they
had
were.
their own numbers as well, and honestly, that just kind of made me sad because every time I see an intersection of professional sports and professional wrestling, I'm like, oh man, that's my wheelhouse. I wish I did that.
Mm-hmm.
You wish you were wrestling with the inner circle.
No, I wish I wish I replaced Justin Roberts.
Oh, okay, I see. That was also a weird note too, that for the whole entire show, they had Dasha Fuentes doing the introductions, but then for the main event, they have Justin Roberts doing it.
Because it was
I'm
Because
filmed.
guessing
he was needed at the stadium. He couldn't start. He couldn't start at the ring and then hightail it all the way over to the stadium.
Oh, of course not. That'd be silly.
Yeah, exactly.
Of
They'd
course
have to
it
have like a
wouldn't.
go-kart waiting, a golf cart waiting to
We
go or
we
something.
need realism in this match. Is what we need.
Yes, we do. We absolutely needed realism in this
And
match. That is what we got.
honestly, let's be honest. We saw what was in the match. He needed time to prep.
That's true. This is very, very true. So I think you mentioned it, Tiger, or maybe it was Sam. I don't remember. Things are confusing. But the match did start with a horse, a
Yes.
a horse upon which Adam Page was located, running down the field, chasing Sammy Guevara,
Mhm.
and I, it was beautiful again, and it led to this entire story throughout the match of Adam Page just wandering around backstage on his horse until he finds a bar, goes to the bar, sits down for a drink, and then he hangs out for a while. It was
Mhm.
pretty sick.
And then Jake
It was
Hager
pretty
comes
sick.
in, and then they had
Jake Hager did come in.
they had a brawl in which Adam Page did a backflip off of the bar table, and then Jake
Dude, they
Hager
did it.
power bumped him onto the pool table.
Yeah, but
Sucks.
none of that was as good as the fact that I think it was Hager picked up Page and slid him across the bar.
Exactly,
Using the
yeah.
drinks as improvised weapons like an old western. It was wonderful.
And then Kenny
really
Omega
was.
came in, and Adam Page used Kenny Omega's back as an improvised slingshot into the buckshot lariat, and Jake Hager flips like through the bar table as if he's like on the ropes, and he gets lariated.
It was fantastic. And then, of
then
course,
they celebrate with a toast and Kenny Omega drinks milk.
they do. They do. Milk and whiskey is just a beautiful
Mhm.
combination in my mind.
Milk and
So, that was
whiskey
that-
made me a man.
Yes, yes, indeed.
It's a white American.
Is that
I
what it's
think
called?
so. I think so.
Because milk and what is it? Is a white Russian.
Vodka?
I think it's milk and vodka.
Did you guys know
I
that
don't know,
Chris
I don't
Jericho
drink.
only drinks plain vodka? Just vodka and ice cubes, you know?
What? He doesn't drink any bubblies?
Oh, that's true.
Oh
I
my
guess
god!
he had to break
False
his habit.
advertising. False
Oh my God, you're
advertising.
right.
False advertising.
This is horrible. This is horrible. But I don't know. I think Jericho is one of those guys who didn't have a distinct story in this match. He was just sort of going everywhere, you know?
Mm-hmm. He had
I
a
don't-
good
but-
spot where he put the cone on his head again and then starts laughing.
Dude, I was fine with that when it first happened a couple weeks ago on TV, but the moment they made it a T-shirt, I can't.
Oh,
They AEW has a problem where they go way too hard, way too much with their merchandise. Like, it's it's rough.
I mean, it
I
is a
don't know if you guys
t-shirt
can tell.
company first and foremost. So
That's true. That's true. My expectations are not where they should be. Let's talk about the finish. Well, first, also, let's talk about Matt
oh
Hardy
yeah,
Yes,
definitely,
thank you.
absolutely,
diving
yes.
Thank you.
into
I
a
was about to bring it up.
pool and being reincarnated 4 times in the course of this match. And I love too where they would cut to the glass and you would see him underwater drowning, but he just had his like fingers out, like smiling to the camera. It
Yeah,
was
Just doing the
beautiful.
V1 pose.
yeah.
And you know what I love about that as well is that it rewrites canon. He doesn't need to go into the Lake of Reincarnation. He just needs any body of water.
Well, did
Which
you hear what he
also
said?
theoretically means that, like, Matt Hardy, you could just spill a drink on him and he reincarnates.
As much as I would love to confirm this theory, Matt Hardy did take to Twitter to let us know that what he did is when he found out that the stadium there in Jacksonville had a pool, he shipped in water from the Lake of Reincarnation to be placed in the pool.
Ah, of course. Of
So
course.
yes, of course.
It made
Again,
more
I
sense.
get. I would love for Matt Hardy to just be really reactive to water and any liquid, but unfortunately,
I wish
that's not the case.
I wish Santana and Ortiz would become LAX again and Dixie Carter walks down the pool.
Did you see though that Santana did the Irish Whip animation from No Mercy?
I saw that on Twitter. Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I believe that Irish Whip did precede him getting shoved into an ice cooler a few moments later, which was a bit rough. That's where he spent the rest of the duration of the match inside an ice cooler.
No, I thought he was gonna
Oh,
like bang on the door or something like to confirm that he's still alive, but there was nothing.
Oh,
He's
I
just
see.
dead. He's just dead the moment you put him in the.
Well, Matt Hardy drowned,
Yeah.
so you know.
This is true. This is true. And then Ortiz got his head rung inside I guess, a miniature looking Liberty Bell. It was real weird. Then he got shoved into a chair.
Because it's,
taped
isn't
up.
it Liberty Financial Field or something like that?
Oh, okay. I guess that would make sense. But he does.
I
He
gotta
has
look
his-
it up now.
I see. This is important. This is important stuff. But he has his head inside the bell. Gets rung. It's too much for him to take. He loses his hearing, and he gets stuck in a chair for the rest of the match. And basically, what it comes down to, at the very end of this incredible stadium stampede, is Sammy Guevara trying to escape Matt Hardy and Kenny Omega, who are both in pursuit. Eventually, leading to them climbing up into the stands, where Sammy Guevara gets caught by Matt.
And Neo
Who
won.
then, yes, that's true. By Neo One, the debut of Neo One. How could I forget? And then that leads into Kenny Omega getting Sammy up onto his shoulders, and a one-winged angel off of the stands, like 20 feet down, in what was just the most amazing, spectacular finish.
And I did just look it up. I was wrong.
yes.
It is TIAA Bank Field. I'm thinking of the football stadium in Philadelphia.
I see. Well, hopefully the next Stadium Stampede match will take place there, and then we can see an appearance from that Liberty Bell as well. I think it's important stuff.
I want a series of Stadium Stampede matches now.
Ooh,
Dude,
let's
it
not.
has to
Do
be
'em everywhere.
recurring.
Let's not.
It
Let's
really
not.
has to be.
Let's not be too eager
Oh.
now. Too much of a good
You
thing.
don't want to ruin it.
We don't want to be
Yeah.
TNA lethal lockdown every match in a cage. We don't want to. We don't want to be like that. No.
Okay,
Do
that's
we?
fair. But I
Okay.
mean, have you seen the Minoru Suzuki Tokyo Dome match?
Uh,
Because there is so much potential of stuff to do in a baseball stadium. I absolutely loved that. I think maybe my favorite spot from all of that was Suzuki had his opponent in a submission, and they're on the base paths of the baseball diamond, and they crawl over, and he gets his hand on first base, and the umpire says, "You have to let." The referee, says you have to let the submission go. He's safe.
wow.
The
Wow,
bases
what a
count
match.
as a rope break.
All right.
Incredible.
What a match.
Next
That's-
week we're gonna do a live let's watch of this.
Oh, of course.
I would be
course.
so happy to.
So, but no, like, I think as long as we're not doing it just to do it, but if there's an actual occasion that calls for it, like let's say 3 or 4 years from now, there are another two factions who are going at it and are like basically the biggest things in the company, then I think, yeah, let's do it again. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't
Yeah.
need to be a war game situation where we have to shoehorn in a couple teams every year.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, fair
Yeah.
enough.
And also,
So
I
that
don't think it
was-
would work as well if there was a full live crowd. I don't think they would have appreciated watching a pre-recorded brawl, to be honest.
Yeah.
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 As good as this was, I don't think it would have worked if it was a full live crowd. So,
That's
Yeah,
true.
that goes for a lot of stuff during this period of wrestling, which again is like one of those redeeming factors of having this really, really weird time because
Mhm.
stuff like this does have the opportunity to succeed. So that's
Yeah.
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. So that was the entirety, or I mean, the entirety of what sort of mattered on Double or Nothing just last weekend. So we can finally get into some of the bigger news stories just from this week of wrestling since then. So first off, what I have here is from AEW Dynamite, the episode which followed this Double or Nothing pay-per-view, where in the main sort of segment, it was the Inner Circle coming out to celebrate because I don't know if you guys saw, but they had a truck full of boxes of dark or Inner Circle shirts proclaiming them the winners of the Stadium Stampede. It's all of them celebrating together, saying first ever Stadium Stampede winners, and it's incredible. So they're trying to figure out how to sell them all. And so they hold a pep rally where they're like throwing them out to the crowd and they're all giving each other gifts, and it's just really, really weird. But it all comes together when Sammy Guevara is about to reveal his gifts, where he asks Chris Jericho, he asks his great mentor, his fellow latex god, he asks him, well, Chris, what is it that you actually want? Because we've been giving each other gifts, this has all been so good and so amazing, but what is it that you really want? And Jericho grabs the microphone and he says, what he wants is that damned Mike Tyson's head on a platter. And so Sammy Guevara then says like, okay, I guess I can't do that. I guess I can't get his head on a platter for you, but I did get a cheese platter for you. And he pulls up the little tablecloth covering it, and there's a half-eaten cheese platter and empty bubbly bottles. And Chris Jericho's pissed, and he's trying to figure out what member of the Inner Circle ate all their cheese and drank all their bubbly, right? Until the biggest moment in AEW history, Mike Tyson, surrounded by his posse of just general friends who are out of shape and MMA fighters who are known as the greatest of all time, all make their way down to the ring, whereupon they get into like a shouting match that has to be broken up by like the entire locker room and crowd. And so I think we're getting a Mike Tyson Chris Jericho match.
I'm okay with it.
Okay.
I am too, honestly. Jericho's at a point in his career where anything he does, he's going to be able to recover from, and he's going to have a good time with it. He's going to try his best, and I don't know. It's not going to affect him if it goes poorly, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen matches with boxers go well before. Obviously, Floyd Mayweather versus Big Show comes to mind. But you also can't forget that it's well known how much love Mike Tyson has for the wrestling business. The fact that he's a huge fan, not only of it, but of the history of it. So if he's thrown into a match, I think he's actually going to do fairly well.
I would hope so. I think it'll be fun no matter what. You know, I don't
yeah.
think it's going to be this incredible masterpiece of a match where I'm like, oh my god, this is incredible. But I think I'll be entertained. So
Not
I'm
every
down
match
for it.
has to be a masterpiece.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So I think it'll be cool. I think it'll be a good way to draw more eyes to AEW, which I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this because I feel like throughout my entire time watching wrestling, I've always sort of had at least an appreciation for the fact that companies will try to do things to bring in a more general audience, right? Where they'll get bigger names that are known beyond just the pro wrestling world, and they'll try to attract newer eyes, right? But I think I'm getting to a place where I'm realizing that I'm able to step back enough from wrestling and I'm able to separate myself from it and be like, people who aren't watching it and people who aren't interested, they really aren't going to start watching because Mike Tyson's on it. You know, like they're not going to start watching because Snooki was at WrestleMania. You know, like these things aren't going to happen.
Speak for yourself, sir.
I mean,
I'm sorry. Snooki's appearance was incredible.
well, you never know. I mean, thinking of another combat sports example, how about the boxing match between Mayweather and McGregor? that got more non-boxing eyes on boxing than anything has in like the last 15, 20 years of boxing. I mean,
That's
these
true.
But there's
on
real
occasion, if you do it
competition.
right, if you do it right, these cross-promotional things can bring in new viewers. At the very least, it gets people who are curious. At the very least, they'll check it out in a YouTube clip afterwards, or they'll talk
I
about it on Twitter.
I guess so, but boxing doesn't have the same stigma that wrestling obviously does. You know, like
This
anyone
is
I meet
true.
who's not a wrestling fan, it's just like, oh, like when I tell them like, I want to be a broadcaster in wrestling, or oh, I'm pursuing a career in wrestling, they're like, oh, and they don't want to say it, but you can tell they sort of want to ask. It's like, you mean the fake stuff? Like you mean that fake fighting? And I always just like come out and say, yeah, like it's I like WWE, the fake entertainment stuff, but that stigma there, I don't think that's something people are just gonna willingly get past if it's already there. And I think it just because like a celebrity's part of it, you know.
Mm.
I think they'll watch and be like, "Hey, look at this celebrity I like doing this silly thing," but I don't think it's gonna make someone take it seriously or start watching regularly.
So,
I
so,
I,
Well,
I
it,
think
it
pro
might
wrestling.
pique their interest enough to make them, uh, they might look at it and be interested, and maybe the next time they're channel surfing and AEW Dynamite is on TV, they won't change the channel.
so you
Or
Maybe,
at least
maybe so.
so you're saying that
that's all it has to do.
you're saying
Yeah.
that WWE made the right decision by marketing themselves as an entertainment company and not a wrestling company.
If you're
I
talking
don't know.
business-wise, I mean, their business numbers have never been bigger than they currently are.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, so I get the idea that it could get people into it maybe, but I also understand that at least for experience that you two found wrestling like sort of later on, right? Like mid to late teens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's the majority at all. I think most wrestling fans sort of they watched it when they were little and then they just sort of stuck with it, you know? And I think it takes like a really specific and an open-minded approach to get into it like at that later age when you don't already have such a great investment in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's smart to build your marketing around that super super small group of people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Like the
Well, I mean,
ECW thing.
I'll draw a comparison to something else that I got into recently with a heavy stigma on it. Is about a year ago, I got super into Dungeons and Dragons, and
Okay.
I told myself, of all of my socially unacceptable hobbies, I do not need the most socially unacceptable hobby in my repertoire. But a friend of mine convinced me to try it, and I gave it a shot, and I loved it. I mean, right now, these hobbies, these interests that are traditionally considered socially unacceptable, are finding themselves in a position where they're, I don't want to say flourishing, but they're taking a second life. They're slowly reopening back into the mainstream because people are saying, "Wait a minute, it's just dumb fun."
I guess so, but
Yeah.
let me ask this too, Sam. If you didn't experience that for the first time, if you didn't experience D&D with like your friends, like the ones who approached you about it and like were there and were sort of responsible for you having that good time, would you still be into it? Like if you just sort of looked up D&D and you tried to learn it all by yourself and sort of didn't have that fun experience with friends associated with it, would it have that same impact, do you think?
Well, I'll say that before I was convinced to try it, I thought it seemed like a fun idea.
Okay.
I was like, I bet I would enjoy this. It seems like something I would enjoy. I just was hesitant to actually try it and get into it.
Yeah.
And then once I
'Cause
did, it turns out I loved it.
Gotcha. Because I had a similar experience where, like, in junior or senior year of high school, my friends started a club doing it, and they told me to come and do it. And it's like I'm not super into the specific details of it, but I do love doing it with them because it's like it's such a fun experience, right? And so I think
Yeah.
that's different. And again, this is just my experience. I don't want to project it onto you and speak for you, but I think that was more just due to friends. And I think if I was watching wrestling and I had a really close group of friends who were into it, and then they got me into it, like that makes more sense to me
Mhm.
with the D&D comparison. You know, like I don't think it's like, oh, I saw Mike Tyson playing D&D the other day on Twitch.
Ooh.
Now I'm into it.
Ooh. I think the
Well,
problem is that like those people who didn't get into it when they were in their teens is because they didn't watch 2014 to 2016 Progress Wrestling Jimmy Havoc versus Will Ospreay.
I think there should be a rule that Jimmy Havoc can never be brought up on this podcast. I think that's fair.
I'm
is
Unless
this a
sorry.
it's in
podcast now?
relation.
Is that what we are now?
I think so. Like at
I
least in
thought
the
we were just
meantime.
Yeah, I was hoping we would still hold the moniker radio show even though we're not going out on the air. It just I don't know,
Where
makes me feel better.
for the time being we are a pseudo radio show. How about that?
Okay.
We're
Okay.
live.
I think that's
We're live, pal.
we're live. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. So I don't even know what story we were talking about there. Oh, Mike Tyson.
We were
Jericho.
wrapping up Tyson and Jericho
Yeah, that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
because we're an hour and a half into recording now.
Yes, we are.
Oh my god.
Yes,
Okay.
we are.
We haven't
Okay.
gotten
Okay.
through everything.
All right.
So what also happened on that episode of Dynamite was a moment that legitimately got me to like yell watching it from my couch just last night was FTR, the formerly known as the Revival, Fear the Revolt, F the Rest. They have a whole bunch of names all of a sudden, but they go by Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler, formerly Scott Dawson and Dash Wilder on AEW television, riding out to the ring, and in a move that sort of surprised me, but in the moment was like, oh, okay, I see what's happening. They ended up befriending the Young Bucks, it looked like, but not really because they didn't shake their hands.
I don't think it's a friendship. I think it's more of a no one else is allowed to beat up the people that we want to beat up.
Okay, that'd be cool. I'd like that direction. So, because
Yeah,
basically what
that's what I
happened
see.
is the Young Bucks were getting beat down by the Butcher and the Blade, who were watching the show from ringside, and then it was shortly thereafter the FTR came out and they got rid of Butcher and the Blade, helped the Young Bucks, and the two of them had a stare down. And I'm excited. I have very high expectations because the Revival were my favorite tag team of all time. You know?
And the Young
So-
Bucks is everybody else's favorite tag team of all time.
Yeah.
This match has been built up in different ways over 2 years in the possibility that it could possibly happen, and now it will.
And it will on a stage as big as like national television or pay-per-view, which in America
With
too.
no one in
It's insane.
attendance.
I mean, hopefully by the time we get the match, maybe we'll have people in the crowd. Maybe, I don't know. I was sort of
Imagine
hoping.
telling someone a year ago, yes, we're going to see the Revival versus the Young Bucks, and there's going to be 0 fans in attendance.
Imagine just sitting any one of us down a year ago and screening for us Dustin Rhodes versus Sean Spears in front of nobody. You know, just
Well, I'd say, well, it looks like I
Horrible.
gotta get the toilet paper.
that's true.
I'd say
This
that
is true.
Sam is very likely to do that regardless of what happens.
Why? Because I make grocery runs?
Because you love Dustin Rhodes, man.
All of these are true. So let's. Does anyone else have anything to say about FTR making their debut?
Yes,
No,
at some point
no.
I'd like to have a contest on the best abbreviation of what FTR could stand for.
I think this is fair. That's probably more a
Fight the
B2B
rats.
segment. We got it though.
Fire the Revival.
Oh, that just hits close to home, Tiger.
No, that already happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Flow
very
like
sad.
the river.
Yep. I mean, we don't got an L in there. You know, might be a bit of a stretch.
No, there's
Got any
Flow
more?
the river.
There's two
'Cause
little
this
L's.
segment,
You just-
this segment is firing on all cylinders in my mind. So. Okay. Cool. There we go.
How about if it's slightly misspelled, fire the writers?
You say slightly, but it's a pretty major.
It's
mistake
fire
in
the
my mind.
writers, but like the W is not capitalized. Only the R is capitalized.
Oh, great. So in non-AEW news, over on Monday Night Raw this past week, we saw the United States champion, former United States champion now, in that of Andrade, losing his title to Apollo. I don't know if his name is Cruz anymore.
The
Is it just
sun
Apollo?
god, the sun god Apollo.
I believe
This.
he got Cruz back a couple months after they took it away from him.
Oh, okay. So he did lose it for a little bit. I'm not going insane. That's good.
No,
So
you're
Apollo
correct, because
Cruz.
it was in the wake of the Parkland shooting. They were afraid that
Oh,
even though it's spelled differently, they were afraid that Cruz would be too similar to Nicholas Cruz, who was the perpetrator. So they took away his
so
last name for a couple months until they realized, yeah, it's kind of stupid because it's spelled differently, and they gave it back.
it's especially like with the insensitive shit that they do on a weekly basis
Mhm.
for that to be what they're concerned about. It's wild. It's ridiculous. But Apollo wins his first ever championship in WWE, which is ridiculous. That dude's been there for like 5.5 years now, and just incredibly talented. He had
Mhm.
a good bit of momentum for him back when he was in NXT. Then he got called up when the draft happened back in 2016, and he sort of floundered around for 4 years. But now here he is. Paul Heyman's, I guess, putting a whole lot of momentum behind him, and now he's champ.
I
Yeah,
mean, I
good
guess
for
Paul
him.
Heyman's been doing the right thing all around. I mean, or WWE, they've been building up new guys like crazy, partially out of necessity with who's available, but I mean, it's a smart thing to do anyway.
Yeah, I mean, we got guys now like Aleister Black is getting there. Austin
Which is
Theory, just
wonderful.
in a matter of 2 months, he wasn't even on the main roster before all the quarantine stuff. Is already a big name on Raw, teaming up now
And he
with Seth
only joined the
Rollins.
roster a couple months before the whole quarantine, and maybe most notable
Yeah,
of all, Angel Garza out of nowhere is the
I know.
greatest.
Mhm.
Dude, what are they doing? Because it seems like they're ditching that whole story where he's flirting with Charlie, and I am very upset by this. I feel
Are
like
they?
this.
I
Yeah, like they just completely ignored it this week.
I
Well, I
do-
mean, a story doesn't have to be on the show every single week to be continued. They can drop it for a week and then bring it back next week.
I guess so, but that's a. I would give you credit with any other company and give that sentiment credit with any other company aside from WWE. You know,
Mhm.
I feel like if they forget about
Okay,
it
that's
one
fair.
week, it just collapses.
Yeah.
They
But
don't have
That's completely fair.
but what
a
Although
about
memory.
I do feel that maybe they made a slight mistake with Angel Garza's character being a womanizer, and then they did put on TV when he, or at least onto YouTube when he proposed to his girlfriend.
Oh no, that was on NXT TV. Don't worry.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
but
I don't get it, but NXT doesn't exist, I guess.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we're
X
good.
does not
We're good.
exist. But do
No,
you
not at
guys
all.
like the fact that the Messiah, Seth Rollins, threatened to blind Humberto with the side of the stair, and he threatened to smash Humberto's eye into the stair in front of Aleister Black?
Are you asking, did I like it?
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't sitting there being like, "Oh, that's good shit." But I mean, like, I get it. It's a callback, you
However,
know?
is it a callback? What callback is it?
Yeah, because he did it to Rey Mysterio a couple weeks ago,
Oh, okay.
but he actually went through with it and smashed out his eye or whatever.
Okay.
It's supposed to be all
I-
gross. There's
I'm
a lot
just
of blood.
saying that they might be. I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but I'm saying Progress back in 2014 did it better with healed Jimmy Havoc, threatening to
I was waiting
behead,
for it.
threatening to behead Will Ospreay with an axe after he taped him to a chair in the middle of the ring. Okay, I'm just saying.
Tiger, that's strike one. We already established this new rule. We got 2 more strikes, and then this summer edition of Main Stage it's coming to an end. Okay, I can't deal with Jimmy Havoc right now. Okay, not acceptable. It's not acceptable. So we have a new champion, a brand new United States champion. But in our main event on Monday Night Raw, our main event scene, as it were, Drew McIntyre, who all of a sudden is our WWE champ. He was obviously not the last time we spoke. He is looking, I guess, to get into a feud with the almighty Bobby Lashley, who has gone through so many managers in just the past 365 days.
Yeah.
Gone through so many
Yeah.
finishers as well. Now he has the Master Lock, the most devastating finisher of them all.
Oh no.
He used to have the Master Lock, didn't he?
I
Like,
have
it's
no.
not new. It's just using it as a finisher.
I guess
I'm pretty sure I
not
saw him do it at Impact.
I'm not a Bobby Lashley aficionado,
I'm pretty sure.
unfortunately, but
I'm pretty sure there's
I'll
some
brush up for
problem
next week.
when your old rest hold is now your new finisher. I'm pretty sure there's some problem there.
You should brush up on your Bobby Lashley stuff, though. What he was
No,
doing in
I am.
Impact right before he got signed he was doing real good stuff.
I'm writing it down right here. I got to brush up for next week, and that I will do. That's not.
And
That's
you
not
know what
on me.
else
That's
you
not
should
ironic.
brush up on while we're just talking about it real quick?
Jimmy
Havoc.
Okay, Tiger, that one's not on you. Sam's at one. Okay. I'll give you a pass, Tiger. I don't appreciate the laughter like that much. It stings a little bit,
Oh,
but
sorry.
but it's okay. It's okay.
That's fine. We'll get you
I
to
just
say
wanted
that
to
name.
know-
We'll get you to say that name on the next episode as well. So
Like, if we go, if we move past the Ely hour, if we run far too long, then does that move into the Havoc half hour?
Okay, Sam, you're already at 2. Okay. This is
no,
a lot
that's
quicker next
Jessica
episode.
Havoc. Okay, that's Jessica Havoc.
I
Oh,
did
okay.
not say which
Okay.
Havoc.
My bad.
It
I
could just be
revoke
the
your
word Havoc.
I revoke your second strike. That was wrong of me. That was presumptive of me, and I apologize. That was wrong of me. I apologize.
I accept your apology.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So, what are you two feeling about Lashley and McIntyre basically being the headline story on Raw? It's weird.
TNA Originals.
I'm hyped,
Yeah.
honestly. This could be really good. I want a hoss fight. I want to see these two guys go at it. No holes barred.
I guess so.
Except house fights in WWE is really not all that exciting because they don't
No,
really
they
beat the
suck.
crap out of each other, and it's just really
Yeah, that's
slow
true.
paced, and they just doesn't do much.
But you know
It could be
what?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see a master lock. So, it's not all bad. Yes. So, guys, got any other input on this past week of wrestling, or do you think we can start wrapping up this wonderful, wonderful edition of Main Stage Wrestling right here?
I think before
think
we
we
go, sorry, Sam.
No, please go ahead.
No, I was saying before we go, we should all live react to the Adam Cole interview segment with William Regal this week on NXT. I'll send the link to you guys, and we'll start at the same
thank you.
time.
Great. I think this is
All right.
great. So our final topic on our list, I think I looked over it, unfortunately, is Adam Cole's pro streamer setup, it appears.
Mm-hmm.
So this is important stuff before we head off into the sunset. So just
I
waiting
heard
on
that
this
Roman
Tiger.
Reigns got himself banned on Twitch.
What?
Oh.
Why? For what?
Apparently he kept playing copyrighted music, and they banned him.
Oh.
Poor Roman.
Remember that time Randy Orton said the N-word on Twitch?
I do remember that.
What?
Same. Oh,
What?
God damn it. I have an ad with Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh, are you playing it right now?
No, I'm just getting through the ad. Okay, I'm at
Okay.
beginning.
Yeah,
I'm
I've
at
got it.
0.
I'm at 000
I got it
as
closed.
well.
Okay, Tiger, this is
Get
on you.
ad block,
Let
man.
us know.
All right. Sam, are you good?
Yep, count me down.
3, 2, 1, play.
The Undisputed Era, they deserve a fair shot at the NXT Tag Team Championships. Last time they did not.
He's got
get a
the
fair
chair and
opportunity.
everything.
They had
He's
to
got
find a
like
team
an
that they
arcade
weren't prepared to
cabinet in the
fight.
back.
Secondly,
You can tell he's ashamed
Is
of
that
it because he has a shirt hanging,
Oh,
like
no, it
covering
is.
half of it.
in my business.
There's
It's
the
just covering
Switch.
the box of the Switch.
Yeah, the Nintendo Switch, and down is PS Vita, and down there's the
There's Atari
Sega.
retro console.
Oh, I'm missing.
There's, it's just
That's
his.
a nice arcade cabinet, though.
It's just his streaming room. This whole thing is gotta be his just game room. Look, there's the Super Nintendo controllers.
Genuine question.
He's got the
Where
retro
does all this
SNES
charity come
thing,
from?
the retro Sega
Especially
Genesis,
for a
the
guy
retro
like Roman. The
Atari.
guy
He's
is a
got a
complete
poster
narcissist.
with
He's
Legend of
absolutely
Zelda
out of his
from
mind.
the
He's
NES
obsessed with
behind him.
himself. I mean, for God's sakes, he has his
And
own
is that a
personal
Pikachu
spotlight
edition
that comes
3DS?
down and shines on him
That
as
might
he's
be it,
laid
yeah.
out on
Or
his
it
own
might be a
personal
Zelda
couch.
thing.
Or it
I'm
could just
glad
be
they
a
did
Disgusting.
gold 3DS, considering it goes with the whole Undisputed Era thing.
What a heel!
glad-
What a scathing heel! This Adam Cole.
Also, you can tell that it's a streamer setup because he's got really nice microphone quality compared to William Regal, who I'm pretty sure is just like using his laptop speakers.
JC, you were about to say something about this?
I just have my head in my lap.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
I was expecting so much more. I thought we were having a live reaction. I thought some crazy shit was gonna go down.
Oh, me and Sam having
Freaking
a
Adam
way
Cole
more of a
people.
reaction to this whole thing than you are.
I'm not sure that it really fits Adam Cole's character to be a pro Twitch streamer.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean, it's sort of implied that the whole Undisputed Era are just nerds, you know? I think it works.
does it even if he's cutting like a scathing promo on Velveteen Dream.
Probably not
Velveteen
the
Dream
best
just
look.
wants the spotlight, he says, as he's in his $400 gaming chair. The streaming
Cool.
setup and his consoles behind him.
I'm just saying, couldn't he
Oh.
have had a better backdrop for this promo?
Well, guys,
You'd think
what a
maybe
way
with
to
this whole setup he'd be able to afford a green screen.
what a way to end out this episode of Main Stage. I'm glad we took the time to watch that Adam Cole pro streamer setup video. It did wonders for me, my life, my knowledge, my mental flourishing, all of it. So I appreciate you, Tiger. I appreciate you so very much. But I do
You think that
appreciate
Adam
too.
Cole shouts out his subscribers?
Okay. Are we gonna need an Adam Cole rule? I was gonna be nice for a second and be like, hey Tiger, I really appreciate in earnest that you reached out to me and Sam. You made the effort, you initiated us getting back together to record these episodes of Main Stage during the summer. But now I don't know. Jimmy Havoc ruined it for me.
Oh, excuse me. What did you just say? Strike
Nah,
one,
that's my
sir.
bad. That's my
Strike
bad.
one.
We're all on even ground. We're all on
Alright,
even ground.
fine.
It's okay.
Next
It cancels out.
Next week we're gonna review Jessica Havoc versus Michael Cole. Okay, so stay tuned, guys.
Michael Cole. Okay.
Yeah, the other Cole.
I'm
Yeah.
pumped.
Havoc versus Cole is gonna be our theme throughout the summer.
Oh, I see.
This is
Okay,
this
guys.
is all gonna build up to the greatest Fire Pro stream ever.
So, while this episode may not have been the smoothest, it may not have been the most natural compared to our previous ones. It is a
Well,
work
it's
in
gonna be
progress.
smooth for you at home because you're gonna get the benefit of hearing this all edited.
That's true. That's true. But
by
even
someone who
still,
doesn't
I'm
know
sure
how to
there's
edit. So
that also factors into it.
Just
But I'm
take
sure
out
there'll-
just take out every and you're good.
Jesus, a 2-hour. That's oh.
I think you've been popping all this time on my site for some reason, Sam.
Great. Okay, so again, I'm sure there were hiccups. It was our first week doing this online. We'll get stuff worked out. It'll get smoother. We'll know not to stomp on each other. We'll know to avoid these awkward silences. But we're gonna get there because we have a while to go, and hopefully by the time fall rolls around, we'll be back in person, live from WERW's radio station at Syracuse University. Right?
Oh, that'll be the day.
That will indeed. It's still a ways off, but we will get there. Guys, thank you for joining me again for this episode of Main Stage, especially you, Tiger. Thank you for getting this all together for us
No,
and
thank
Yeah,
you.
seriously,
you.
thank you,
Burden of
Tiger.
No.
editing and recording and all of that. And I'm guessing we're going to see you next week again right here on Main Stage. Goodbye, everybody.